Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Statasa Vishnu A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Shri Panchatattva Ki Shri Radha Madhava Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Sarasate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Pastachade Shatarine Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Do we read anything on Sunday morning, or what do we normally do on Sunday morning? There's no book here at the moment. I'm just wondering if there's meant to be. Or is it a free, speak on anything you like session? Is it Bhagavatam? Is it CC? Is it Prabhupada Lilamrita? What do we read? Pardon? Sometimes you listen to?
Srila Prabhupada's lecture.
Well, let's kill Danica Snow. Who is it we're going to kill today? Huh? That's Bhagavatam. Who are we going to kill today? We don't normally like to use that term, perhaps in general topics or general conversation. It's not a very nice term, but actually today we are, well, if Krishna allows us, we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll be killing somebody. Well, we won't, but Krishna will. Who will he be killing? We hope that also we'll be killing in another sense, will be killing that same demon. So who's going to be killed today? Aghasura. Who is Aghasura?
Snake.
He's not an ordinary snake, is he?
Giant snake.
A giant.
The brother of Putana and Babasnik.
Yeah. He is also the brother. In one place it says elder, in one place it says younger, but whatever he is, he's the brother of Aputana, who Krishna's already killed, and Bakasura, another one, he's already got rid of him too. So now Aghasura is about to meet his end. I don't know if we have it on the screen or not. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just a quick recap. The Goward boys, upon seeing this incredibly large, well, at first they thought statue, incredibly large creature lying on the path, huge, many miles long, the boys, like young boys often do, they were very brave, you could say, but they were very adventurous. They were looking for some excitement as always. And this big demon had its mouth wide open, like a huge cave. So they decided to enter into the cave, even though Krishna knew and didn't want them to enter in. Krishna knew this was a demon. But they did, to draw the, let's say, the deeper or the divine qualities of Krishna even more, to manifest his Karuna Shakti and his pleasure-giving potency. Normally the pleasure-giving potency is directed entirely towards satisfying Krishna's desires, but here Leela Shakti, she has Krishna's internal potency. She's arranging it so that it's the boy's desire that's going to be fulfilled, to show Krishna's deeper Karuna Shakti, is love for his devotees, depth of his love. And anyway, there's not a competition, but there's a interaction going on here between Krishna's different energies, his different Shaktis, to further enhance the loving exchanges. So the boys entered in along with the calves. There was a lot of them. They all entered in singing and dancing as they entered. Although it was, you could say, a ghastly place, dreadful smell coming out, and deep dark, like hell practically speaking, inside. But for them it was fun. And Krishna, and of course they entered in, the demon was not satisfied because Krishna didn't go in. He got all the boys and calves, but where's Krishna? So Krishna appears to be slightly perplexed as to what to do. His own energies, his internal energy here, he's experiencing this mood of amazement, in a sense, at how wonderful his energies are working to create such almost bewildering situation. But then he decided he was thinking how to save my calves and coward boys, and at the same time kill this demon, because they're all inside of him. So he decided eventually he will enter into the body of Aghasura. So he went in. Aghasura was very pleased, thinking, now I've got him. Now I've got him. So such are the acts of Krishna. Paritanaya sadhanam vinashaja dushkritam. Krishna then inside the throat, he didn't even reach the belly, inside the throat, he started to expand himself bigger and bigger and bigger. Then Krishna suffocated and killed the demon, and at the same time saved himself and his associates from imminent death, and also saved the demigods. They were greatly lamenting, seeing, especially when Krishna entered, "Alas, alas," they cried from the skies. That's an English term. Oh no, what's happening? Krishna's entering the demon's mouth. It's all over. As if some demon can challenge Krishna. Sometimes Krishna likes a good fight. And it appears the demon sometimes is getting the better of Krishna. Well, Krishna enjoys that. He gives them this false security. He enhances or expands their pride, and they fight even more vehemently and enthusiastically, thinking that they're the greatest. But then Krishna gives them a good lesson. And as he does to us, sometimes we get carried away with pride. And then Krishna, kindly within our hearts, he's also within us, reveals himself exactly, but he cuts down our pride by various means. Denying us what we wanted, putting us into a situation of embarrassment, something or another. His desire out of love is to cut down our pride. Because as long as pride is, we say, pride before a fall. Pride is seeing oneself in the center, and consequently envy usually comes as a result. So we're all in the material world, we're all affected by these various coverings, these various enemies actually to the pure soul. Pride, madness, and envy, very detrimental to spiritual life. So we'll read on. We're on text 31. I don't know if it's on the board. Is it there? Yes? No? Tato tikayasya niruddha magino. All together. Yudgirna drishta brahmatas tritas tataha. Purnon tarange pavanore dudho. Murdan vinibidya vinigato bahi. Tato tikayasya niruddha magino. Yudgirna drishta brahmatas tritas tata. Purnon tarange pavano niruddho. Murdhan vinirbidya vinigato bahi. Tato tikayasya niruddha magino. Yudgirna drishta brahmatas tritas tata. Purno tarange pavano niruddho. Murdhan vinibidya vinigato bahi. Tato viyatasya niruddha magino. Yudgirna drishta brahmatas tritas tata. Purnon tarange pavano niruddho. Mudan vinibidya vinigato bahi. Tato tikayasya nirudamargino. Yudgirna dvishta brahmatastritastata. Purnantarange pavano niruddho. Any ladies? Tato tikayasya niruddhamagino. Yudgirna drishta brahmatastritastataha. Purnantarange pavano niruddho. Murdan vinibidya vinigato bahi. I'm not going to read the word for word because our time is short and there's no purport. There are many words here which you could say are interesting, but we'll read on. Translation. Then because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. He's trying to kind of like compete with Krishna. Okay, Krishna's expanding. I can also expand. So he started to expand. You know, when we got our arguments, our own attachments to our own whatever we think it is, you know, we try to add to it and add to it and add to it, and we don't want to be defeated. So he extended his body. Nonetheless, he wasn't successful. His breathing stopped. He couldn't breathe. He suffocated. Krishna was blocking his throat. He was so big. He was pushing. The demon was trying to expand, but he had his limits. And his eyes started to roll here and there. And suddenly the eyes popped out. The pressure was so great inside, the air pressure, the pop. His eyes popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet. And therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. Pretty fortunate in one sense. Usually this is the what do they call it? Brahmarandra or something? Top of the head. Where yogis oftentimes leave their body, huh? When you're born, I think there's a soft spot in your head or something. Somewhere here. Maybe where the sheikh is. Whether it's there or not, but the life hairs, which are carrying the soul, they're trying to get out of the body. The body is dead, dying or dead. And they're trying to escape, so they burst out wherever they can get out. Sometimes they go out through the anus. Sometimes they go out through, the mouth, various places. In this case, they burst out of the hole at the top of the head. So we move on. When all the demon's life here had passed away through that hole, can you take this cushion away, please? It's I'm pushing at an angle here. Take it away. When all the demon's life here had passed away through the hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and coward boys as they were all in his stomach, and he brought them all back to life. Then Mukunda, who could give one liberation, came out from the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. They all marched back out again. And the next verse, and there's quite a purport here. Next verses are quite long with purports. From the body of the gigantic python, sometimes it's described, he's like a boa constrictor. But here Prabhupada says python, a glaring effulgence came out. Illuminating all directions. And stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. The corpse is the dead body. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Purport. Apparently the serpent named Aghasura, because of having received association with Krishna, attained mukti by entering Krishna's body. Mukti is one kind of liberation. It can mean generally liberation, or specifically it means merging. Sayugya Mukti, probably describes here. This is called Sayugya Mukti. Entering the body of Krishna, becoming one with Krishna. Devotee doesn't want to do that. The impersonalists, they may want to become one with Krishna. In other words, the consciousness that one is the Supreme. Krishna fulfills that desire. It is a spiritual, you could say, on the transcendental plane, but it's not our real constitution. We hear that our real constitution is to serve Krishna. Shastras, scriptures make this statement on many occasions, but a devotee, one who's actually surrendered to Krishna, not just becomes one with God, as the impersonalists, the demons may wish, to see themselves equal with God. I'm also God. I'm God, they may say. You're God. We're all God, they may say. But a devotee becomes greater than God. Krishna is controlled by his devotees, and he's Bhaktivatsal. The devotees conquer him more than God. This is the way the demons, at least in the material sense of the term, spiritually they're maybe not consciously aware, but in the material sense of the term, they're challenging God. They're challenging him with their science, sometimes with their material claims, etc. Efforts, in the case of Aghasura and other demons, they directly try to challenge God, as if they can defeat him. Well, you can defeat God, but they've got it the wrong way round. When one surrenders to God, then the Lord submits himself to the devotee. Maybe we have that experience sometimes in the material world to some extent. You know, when somebody is, well, we see it, for instance, I'm going to say to a certain extent, it's only to give an idea, but when somebody is inimical, they've been giving us a hard time in our judgment, and then they realize it and they give up and they surrender to you, you feel like, you know, giving them protection, so to speak. Forgiving them. Giving them protection, or whatever within our means. It's just a related example. It's not exactly an example, but it's related. We have that similar feeling. We want to help them. Please forgive me. And we see this with Jagai and Madai. We see this with quite a few occasions, Parikshit Maharaj, even with Kali, to a certain extent. When somebody, who's acting inimically, but then they take shelter of you. And please forgive me, they surrender. Not necessarily surrender to us, but in that sense, but they give up their animosity, they become humbled and realize that they've been acting in this way. And then naturally your compassionate mood comes out. Can't you feel compassionate? At least if you're, a little bit decent, you will. Well, that's natural. So Krishna does too. What do you want? So in this case, the demon, he was at that stage, he wanted to merge into Krishna's body. Prabhupada goes on, but later verses prove that Aghasura, like Dantavakra and others, now this is a very significant point, that although the demons merge into the body of the Lord, sometimes later on, they attain a higher level. So he receives Sarupya Mukti later on. What is Sarupya Mukti? Initially he entered into the body of the Lord, and then he received, so that's Sayugya Mukti, and then he received Sarupya Mukti. What is Sarupya Mukti? What is Sarupya? There are 5 kinds, generally speaking, understood at least, of liberation. Generally a devotee, a practicing devotee, he's not aspiring for any of these kinds of liberation. He just wants to serve. But sometimes they may attain these forms of liberation. In this case, although it was a demon, he's been purified by Krishna entering his body. And he attains Sarupya Mukti. What is that?
Same body.
Same form. Same form as Godhead, Rupa. Rupa means form. Huh? Same form. Same form, it could be forearm form, for instance, right? In Vaikuntha, all the residents of Vaikuntha have forearms. Because if Krishna wants them to have, otherwise they may do also. But generally they have 4 forms. You can hardly tell the difference between them and Narayan. Narayan does have a few symbols, a few marks on his, a few jewels that they don't have, etc. But otherwise they look like Lord Narayan, Sarupya. So he attained that position. This has been broadly described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti with references from the Vaishnava Toshani of Srila Jiva Goswami. Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti, being promoted to the Vaikuntha planets to live with the same 4-arm bodily features as Vishnu. The explanation of how this is so may be summarized as follows. And here's a summary. The effulgence came out from the python's body and became purified, attaining spiritual Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. There was no effect of the mode, just like Gaurasundar has a pair of pants on and it's written on there, Atama. Did you know that? Atama. I don't know if that's the name of the brand.
Yes.
You didn't put that there. So Atama could be, although it's usually Uttama, Atama. Tama is ignorance. Atama means, the opposite, above ignorance. So your pants are above ignorance, okay? They're helping to bring you to Shuddha Sattva. Not exactly. But it reminds us. Shuddha Sattva means freedom from material contamination of the modes of nature. Because Krishna has stayed within the serpent's body, even after the serpent's death, Krishna was still there, because he was going to revive his cowherd boys and calves. And then altogether, when the soul of Aghasura had left, then they all marched out of the body. One may doubt that such a demon, full of mischievous activities, could attain the liberation of Sarupya or Sayugya. Even Sayugya, merging into the Brahman. How did he attain this? And one may be astonished about this. This is another of Krishna's unending Shaktis, his kindness to anyone who approaches him. But Krishna is so kind that in order to drive away such doubts, he had the effulgence, the individual life of the python, wait for some time in its own individuality in the presence of all the demigods. They could see that effulgent soul just kind of hovering there, just existing there. Krishna is the full effulgence, and every living entity is part and parcel of that effulgence. So we describe the soul as like a little spark, a spark emanating from a great fire. As long as the spark is in the fire, the spark has the qualities of the fire. It's also fire. When the spark comes out of the fire, it may glow for some time, but after a while it becomes fireless, it becomes dull. So similarly, the living entity, when we leave our connection with Krishna, we become dull. According to the modes of nature, whatever mode we're under, there may be some manifestation of life symptoms, but spiritually it's very dull. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the soul is more brilliant than the sun, that's for sure. Was it hundreds or thousands of suns rising all at the same time? You can hardly imagine how bright the pure soul is. Right now, as we've been hearing, the soul is covered. It's not that Krishna's covered, the sun never gets covered. But we, being tiny, we get covered by the energies which are also created by the sun directly or indirectly, by the clouds, by the darkness at night, by mist and so on. We become covered. We can't see the sun properly. We may speculate or just deny its existence. At night we deny its existence. When there are clouds or fog, we may speculate about the source of the light. So the living entity, when it's separated from Krishna, when it's out of the sun, so to speak, Krishna Surya Samaya Andhakara, becomes like dull. But here, the soul of Aghasura has been freed of that covering, but at this point of time there's no manifestation of loving relationship with Krishna. Any relationship. It's just existing in its own, say, purified state as a Brahman, without conscious awareness of one's relationship with Krishna. It's just existing, and all the demigods could see that. They were astonished. As proved here, the effulgence in every living being is individual. For some time the effulgence remained outside the demon's body individually and did not mix with the whole effulgence or the Brahmajyoti. At this point of time, remained individual. The Brahmajyoti, this Sayugya Mukti, the living entity, does not have any conscious awareness, individuality. It's just simply existing. And as far as that's concerned, merged, the word merged is mentioned here, with the Brahmajyoti, or mixed with the whole effulgence, the Brahmajyoti. That's just, the individual soul still maintains its individuality, but doesn't recognize it, and neither can anyone else recognize it, because everything is just blinding light. But within that fire, within that blinding light, the individual still exists. Just like in the ocean, a drop of water, tiny drop of water, may enter the ocean, and it may appear that that drop of water has lost its individuality. It's merged into the great ocean, you could say. But in reality, it still has its own individual existence. It's just unseen. So that the soul, even in Sayugya Mukti, does have, but it's not recognizing it. It doesn't even consciously desire to recognize individuality. So it appears to be in a state of eternal existence, with no conscious awareness of anything else besides itself existing. The Brahman effulgence is not visible to material eyes. But to prove that every living being is individual, Krishna had this individual effulgence stay outside the demon's body for some time. There's another reason besides the fact that Krishna hadn't come out of the body yet. He wanted to prove that, the individual soul. The soul is individual, although we're all the same quality, we're all spirit. But each living entity, each spark has its own unique individuality. This is the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chintya Veda Veda Tattva, Haribol. Simultaneous oneness and difference. We are one with God, but we're different also. We have our unique personalities. Prabhupada said, we're not Mayavadis. When you see differences between people, this is another proof that we're not Mayavadis. Sometimes we want to do away with the differences. We want everyone to see it my way or no way. But that's Mayavad philosophy, in a sense. We are individuals. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is not to annihilate the individuality, not at all, but rather to bring unity amongst the individuals. Just like we see some of you, I can't bend round far enough, but are there any flower vases on the altar? Are there any vases, flower vases on the altar or not? Yes or no? There are not. So maybe later for the feast. What time is the lunch program?
Lecture is after the noon around.
What time?
Like around 1.
The lecture is around 1, okay.
Then the prasad or the feast will be around 2.
Okay. So before that there's kirtan and like that, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just asking for the sake of it. Let's take a meal. As you're going to have a feast, or at least some nice prasadam, a lunchtime there. Huh? Who's cooking? It's Ekadashi prasadam. Good. Today is Ekadashi. So there'll be prasadam. There is variety there. It's all prasadam, but it's variety. If it's only one preparation every day in, day out, day in, day out, never a variety. It's prasadam, but it's not so attractive, is it really? Maybe if you're transcendental, you'll see it like that. But in general, no. We're having a feast today, and there's just one preparation. You may wonder, what type of feast is this? The Shringa? What do you think? Mum only cooks one preparation, morning, lunch, and evening. What will you say? Huh? What will you say if mother only cooks one preparation? Morning, lunchtime, and dinner time. That's all you're going to get. One only. No variety, no sweets, nothing fried. Yuck. Is that what you said? You said yuck? Something like that. Definitely you want some variety there. Huh? Or if you're a flower vase, sometimes devotees, I've seen them, they make flower vases. They have no artistic idea. They just take the flowers with these long stems, they're all the same color, bop, and they just stick them in. There's like 1 foot of stem, and all the flowers on a line at the top. It looks absolutely ridiculous, as well as not at all attractive. It shows we're not at all thinking of what will please Krishna. You stick him in the vase, bop. It's an art. Making vases is an art. You're making them for the pleasure and to attract others, but for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna likes to see, naturally likes to see, everyone likes to see beautiful arrangements according to the mode they're in. Which is Shuddha Sattva. So we're trying to come to that platform of using Krishna's energy to make it look beautiful for Krishna's pleasure. So you design it, combination of colors, just like the garlands. You may have no choice sometimes, but usually you try to combine the colors so that they're compatible. pleasing and matching with the dress. You know, some colors are not so compatible with each other. And sometimes you see that. But the backdrop sometimes it stays there for days, but it's not compatible to the dresses. I haven't studied today, but one day it was very, very nice, and one day it wasn't compatible. You know, thinking of this, what is compatible? What is pleasing to Krishna? Learning the science of compatibility. The nectar devotion, most of the nectar devotion is dedicated to this science of compatibility, both on the individual level and so many other factors, society, everything. Compatibility is required to get that unity. That's what it means, basically, unity, compatibility. Then, although there are differences, there's unity. They're not clashing with each other. They're not clashing. There's a whole science of understanding that we see with devotees, with people in general, with everything. Finding how to live in this world in a compatible way, with the differences being obvious. You can't expect everyone to buckle under and become one. We're not Mayavadis. We have to understand the science of how to relate to others who have very different conditioning. And sometimes it means a little distance until we're even at transcendental level, one may keep a distance if it's not compatible for the other person's benefit. But the liberation of those who are on the transcendental platform of love and affection is vimukti. Vimukti is special liberation. Prabhupada says special. Thus the serpent first entered the body of Krishna personally and mixed with the Brahmana effulgence. This merging is called Sayugya Mukti. But from later verses we find that Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti. Text 38 explains that Aghasura attained a body exactly like that of Vishnu. And the verse after that also clearly states that he attained a completely spiritual body like that of Narayan. Therefore, in 2 or 3 places, the Bhagavatam has confirmed that Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti. One may then argue, how is it that he mixed with the Brahman? The answer is that as Jai and Vijay, after 3 births, again attained Sarupya Mukti and association with the Lord, Aghasura received a similar liberation. He just had to stay there for a little while. Prabhupada doesn't go into any detail there, whether that was a general situation of the demons, and we do hear the demons merged like the impersonalists into the Brahman, but we do hear that some of them, like Putana became a personal nurse of the Lord in Goloka. Although she came with intents of killing Krishna, she was purified. And because she had that intention of serving Krishna like a mother, Krishna fulfilled, he got rid of all the negativity, and the positivity remained. She wanted to offer Krishna her breast milk. She wanted to see him like her little child. So, of course, she didn't become Mother Yasoda. No one, that is impersonalism also. To think, I can become Mother Yasoda. No. But we can have the same mood of motherly affection as Mother Yasoda. We become an assistant of Mother Yasoda. And sometimes one may get that direct chance to look after Krishna like that. As a nurse, sometimes feeding Krishna like that. So sometimes these demons, they're not ordinary souls. They're playing the parts of demons. They play the parts, huh? Jai and Vijay, they're playing the part. They're not really demons. But they play the part when they come into this world of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha and so on. And, Krishna Shakti makes them feel like they're absolute demons. But they're not really demons, they're devotees. In one sense, all the jivas are like that. But we have this free will of choice, whether we want to exercise that or not. So Krishna, if we come into contact with Krishna consciousness, by the grace of Krishna, He can kill all these demoniac propensities which we have ultimately due to our independent thinking, misuse of our independent, seeing ourselves separately from Krishna as the enjoyer, and then coming into contact with the material energy and becoming implicated in associating with the material energy and persons under the material energy. We develop certain mentality, certain concepts. So Krishna places the soul in those situations both to fulfill their desires, or at least give them a chance to. Can't really fulfill their desires in this world, and to, of course, receive the fruits of one's work, karma, and also to a lesson. The material world primarily is meant to be a situation to teach us lessons. It's not just a place to fulfill naughty children's desires or to punish them or whatever. It's meant to teach us lessons. It's learning. We're meant to be on a learning curve, as they sometimes say. But because of bad association, we don't learn very well. You know, even we see the example of Jarasandha, another demon who tried to kill Krishna. He attacked Mathura 18 times with the intention of defeating Krishna. Each time he was humiliated. And he actually felt like giving up. But then he associated with his, others, ministers and other demoniac kings. They convinced him, no, it was just ill luck. We should do it again. Don't give up. People are determined in this world, very determined to try to attain their material goals. Even though everyone around us has failed, we think it won't happen to me. We'll make it. We will do it. Say is if you're doing that for Krishna, that's another thing. But most people are not. So the demoniac propensity. So to do. Even Kamsa also, after, when he saw that the 8th child of Devaki was a girl and not a boy, because it was a boy, but Krishna arranged it to look like a girl, and he became stunned. He almost, oh, what have I done? He became, repentant almost. Especially when that girl was none other than his worshipable deity, Durga Devi, who showed herself to him. He was pretty taken aback. My God, it woke him up. But then again, it didn't take him long. By association, he was back on the warpath again. Back to his nefarious way of thinking. By association. So it's association which is key factor here. Aghasura, of course, was associated with demons, therefore he was himself acting as a demon. And together they were nurturing their own demoniac mentality. But when the coward boys and calves entered in, and then when Krishna entered in to his body, of course there was transformation began to take place. What's happening in the kitchen? Incompatibility? Oh boy, that looks like something dangerous. What is that, boiling ghee or something?
Oil.
Oh, even worse, boiling oil. Boiling oil. Ooh. You want to be put in a pot of boiling oil? Not very compatible, huh? That's for sure. Actually, the material world is not compatible for the soul. We try to make it compatible, but it's not. All the characteristics of this material world are almost opposite to the spiritual characteristics. It's temporary, so much suffering, so much ignorance in this world. Opposite to the spiritual world. We're trying to make the material world into a spiritual world. Huh? Building big buildings. And yesterday we were at the groundbreaking. We went past Taguig, whatever, market, all those tall buildings there, right? Super skyscrapers. Dianatai was looking, he was surprised to see so many opulent looking skyscrapers. It looks very modern, very advanced materially, huh? And then you come, as soon as you get out of it, you see all these scrap heaps, right? All these houses, like hardly a house, it's just some kind of thing, box, people living there. Such a contradiction, huh? Such a contrast. Such a contrast. So we try to make this world look like, like Ravana wanted to build a skyscraper to heaven, huh? And they'll build higher and higher and higher. Eventually, you'll be able to get onto the lift, and you'll get off on heaven. Heaven, you'll reach heaven in the lift. You're getting one of these skyscrapers, and at the top you reach heaven. You get out in heaven, and you fall off the top and crash to the ground again. Where'd you go? Nowhere else to go. You have to go back down again. You can't stay there. Even if you do reach a heaven in this world, you can't stay there. You don't belong there. Brahma bhuvana loka punarvartin Arjuna. Krishna says to Arjuna, everywhere in this material world is a place of suffering. Can't avoid it. From the heavenly planets down, from Brahma down to the Indragopa, teeny, you can't even see microbial living entity. Everyone is suffering one way or another, to some degree. It's not compatible to the soul. We're eternal. So we're looking to try to make our environment satisfying or compatible to our nature, but it's not possible. Material energy doesn't allow that to happen. And until we learn that lesson, we keep struggling from body to body to body to try to fulfill this impossible to fulfill desire separate from Krishna. Hare Krishna. So what to do? So the material world is ultimately meant. So we come to this realization of surrender. And what to say? In this case, I guess Aghasura realized that he had some surrendered feeling there in his heart. Not just because he was killed by Krishna, he merged, but to attain a form similar to the Lord. Sarupya Mukti means there is some element there of devotion awoke within his consciousness. By whatever reason. Of course, his history, his constitutional position, that's another thing. But in our case, by association, this realization we may have some initial, obviously we have some initial reasons for approaching Krishna consciousness. But by proper association, then the favorable attitude can be awoken. Favorable. Hare Krishna. So association is a very key feature, trying to keep protecting ourselves from the devious, demoniac or impersonal association, and trying to associate with those who are connected or acting in a connected way with Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions? Mahendra Prabhu.
Maharaj, when one hears the story of the basura, one may conclude that there's no much difference between becoming a demon and becoming a basura. Because one will, like a basura, he attains the form of Lord Vishnu and went to the Vaikuntha Dham.
Good point. So, well, that's a pretty good point. I think I really agree with that point. I think today I'll, become as demoniac as I can, huh? Maybe I'll attain the Lord's mercy and He'll sever a head or something from the body. One may not be so fortunate as that. We're, you could say, little demons. Most of these big demons that we hear about have got, either they're playing the role, or they've got incredible agyata sukriti, unknowing sukriti. They've had some good fortune. Many of them were cursed. They were previously actually devotees of some kind, maybe Sakama devotees, but some type of devotee. And they committed some offense and they got cursed. They realized they're repentant, they repented, and then they got blessed. They're not ordinary demons. They were, they had their curse usually from devotees. Narada Muni or someone cursed them to take birth as a snake, as a serpent, as whatever, some demoniac form. And then they felt repentant. Okay, but you will be delivered when you're killed by Krishna. They're not ordinary little jivas who are just going through this world in complete ignorance and just not even conscious of Krishna. Usually that's the case. They got some special sukriti. Being cursed by a pure devotee of the Lord is greatly fortunate. Whether we see it like that or not, it always has a good effect. So, in one sense, that is happening. It didn't happen to Aghasura immediately either. He was a demon for quite some time. Sometimes they have to remain in demoniac forms for millions of years until that point comes. We only hear the point, the end point. We can read in the Puranas some of the other stages. But for an ordinary jiva, the similar thing is happening, maybe not in such a dramatic way, but they get sukriti also. They get agyata sukriti unknowingly, even though they have no intention, you could say. In their case, no deserve. In the case of most of these demons, if not all, who were able to challenge Krishna directly. They didn't just challenge the concept, they challenged him personally, are not ordinary. We're just challenging the concept of God existence. But with good fortune, the conditioned soul, who is possessed perhaps of demoniac tendency, knowingly, unknowingly, even he may be opposed to that principle. If the jiva gets the opportunity to associate with a devotee, this is the good fortune. Initially they may have to go through a certain degree of, you could say, beating, kicking, call it what you may. But that spark or that opportunity which they had to associate with the devotee will bear fruit in time. It will bear fruit. It may take some lifetimes. But by meeting or coming into contact with pure devotional service, one gets agyata sukriti And that is the start of good fortune. Just being a demon doesn't assure anything. One has to get a Gyata Sukriti. One has to get good fortune, coming from the Lord through the devotees. Of course, if a devotee becomes demoniac, for whatever reason, apparent what we call demoniac, covered by demoniac tendencies, then what is his situation? Yes, you will still get Krishna's mercy, but it will come in different ways. Krishna will reciprocate. But it may take some time. We've seen many examples of that. Even I hope you've written a Vyasa Puja homage for your temple here. Have you finished your offering? Yesterday was the deadline. Have you sent your offering in?
Yes, Maharaj. They already said.
Pardon?
Yes, Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada.
Someone's speaking, but I can't hear what they're saying.
Srila Prabhupada, they sending homage, Maharaj.
For the Vyasa Puja book, yes.
Yes, Ananda Datir, something like that. Yes, we already emailed yesterday.
What is that?
We already emailed Maharaj.
You sent your offering,
Yes.
good, good, okay, good. Yesterday was the deadline. So I haven't sent mine yet. I'm dead. But one of the things that's I'm thinking of is the love which Srila Prabhupada has, even for those who become inimical. Krishna loves everyone. How he manifests his love may not appear the same with everybody. He loves the demons too. He loves everyone. But there's no room for demoniac mentality in the spiritual realm. So his love is to try to, reciprocate in a way as that we get free of that demoniac mentality. It comes in different ways. So one of Prabhupada's early disciples who left his body a month ago, actually, I won't mention their name, but they left the world a month ago. They were one of Prabhupada's first disciples. There are many pictures of Prabhupada walking with them. But they became so kind of, what do you say? Undevotional. Undevotional. I'm not going to use the word demoniac, that's too descriptive, but undevotional. Totally disinterested, you could say, in no respect for Prabhupada at all. One time Prabhupada came to the town where they were living, and they actually came to see Prabhupada. Prabhupada was having a massage from Sruti Kirti when they entered. They just walked in, uninvited, as if, hey. And they came and they said, Hari Bol, Swamiji. Just stood there. That was it. They just stood there. Hari Bol. At least they said Hari Bol. They said it in a very, kind of like disrespectful way. They stayed a while. Prabhupada said, what did I do to you? What did I do that hurt you so much that you chose to do what you're doing? He just looked at Prabhupada, shrugged his shoulders and walked out. And then Prabhupada said to Shruti Kirti, he's become such a rascal, but I still love him. Even though he become a rascal. It's like a child. A child may become a rascal, but the mother and Parents still love the child. You can't take it away. Krishna's like that. How you reciprocate, that depends. But from Krishna's point of view, reform can take a long, well, not from his point of view, you can do it in a second, but we don't want it. We don't want it at all. We're not quite ready, you could say. But the devotees, they're very, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, don't disturb them, even though their activities are inferior. But the devotee does take that risk of trying to give Krishna consciousness to even those who are antagonistic, those who are aggressive. We use our common sense, but the principle is there. The principle is one of giving, awakening, reconnecting the jivas with Krishna. That is their mood. Not that we think that we're any kind of qualified agents or anything. Just by the mere fact of passing on the message of pure devotion, the living entity gets a gyata sukriti. They may not want it at all. Get out of here. Get out, they sometimes say. Nonsense, go away. But still, they get some agyata sukriti. They may have to have a few kicks for their attitude until they realize. I mean, there are literal stories of these things. I remember we had this one man in London. His name was Bob, I think. He worked in a bank, and on Sunday he had a vegetable store in the market, Portobello Road market, Sunday market, selling fruits or something. And every week, this is 1971, every week the devotees would go to that market on Harinam, a huge market, hippie market. They'd go there on Sunday morning, chanting. And if this fellow saw the devotees, he would swear at them, throw rotten tomatoes at them. Get out, you rascals! Get out of here! You're worshipping the devil! He thought he was a Christian. The demons! Out, demons out! He would really go at the devotees, you know. One week his wife was there. She was a kind of soft lady, although she was a vowed Christian. She saw her husband suddenly go into a rage when the devotees came by. She said, "You can't, I don't care who they are. You can't do that. We're Christians. We don't do those things. They're demons. They need it. They've got to be driven out." He was like quite irate. Anyway, she eventually kind of calmed him down and convinced him, stop doing this. So he stopped doing it. Then she convinced him to, to apologize. He said, "Well, apologize to these people. They're nonsense. At least we have to do our part. What they do is another thing." She was a little bit more enlightened. So he did. But he didn't. He just went to the devotees and he said, "You'll see when you go." And they were so nice to him, even though they knew this is the guy who's swearing and cursing at us. They were so kind to him. And they received him just like, a family member. So she was like, well, what's my husband talking about? These people are nice people. They're not Christian maybe. I don't know what they are, but at least they're nice. All right then, okay. He kind of surrendered and said, "I won't do it anymore." And after a while, the devotees, they continue, of course, to go to the market. They're chanting and dancing every week. And he's kind of like, controlling himself. And the devotees are coming. "Oh, nice to see you, Bob. Here, we bought some nice, nice samosas for you." And, a bit hesitant, but slowly, he softened up. They were bringing him gifts. His wife was sometimes there, and she was, "Thank you." And after some time, he became more and more softened. And after a while, he and his wife, the devotees, invited him to the Sunday feast, and he came. And he liked it. And after some months, he was a regular. After some time, he started chanting Hare Krishna. After about, well, I don't know how months in terms of that, but about a year or so after the initial incident, we were sitting together on Trafalgar Square, getting initiated by Prabhupada. He and his wife got initiated. Bhakti Pramod, his name was. He was elderly, he was about 50, 60 years old at the time. He left his body a long time ago, but it's amazing how that transformation can take place. It may start with very apparent demoniac behavior, but by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, anything can change. Obviously there was some spark from the past in his heart, from the past probably was there also, but for sure in this lifetime he was fortunate. His wife also helped him. She must have had a little bit more sukriti than him. And the devotees, naturally, when he became a little bit surrendered, they reciprocated. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Agasura wanted to eat Krishna. Most people don't want to eat Krishna. It's not a very nice thing to do, but he was thinking of Krishna. He was thinking of Krishna. Agasura. Kamsa was thinking of Krishna. What way? Hiranyakashipu wasn't exactly thinking of Krishna, he was thinking of Sita, but he was indirectly thinking of Ram, because Ram is an obstacle to my achievement. So then there's a certain element, indirect element of Krishna consciousness in their life, not just being a demon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna.